The two main topics are, of course, privacy and security. And security is a vital one end to end. So that means how do you ensure that the data cannot be accessed by unauthorized people? How can you ensure the privacy of people? So it's one of the key topics and the key prerequisites, let's say, or hygiene factors even, for IoT to be a success. We've heard of cases around the world where actually the privacy did not work out well, where cars were hacked, and that's an issue. So it's a high focus of attention also with us in the company.
Well, the IoT security is first of all, it's a very hot topic nowadays, and it's also a very important topic. And I think one of the perhaps the least attractive things that customers would like to see is information that is sensitive for them regarding their process and their manufacturing operation to leak outside to parties that they would not be interested in showing that information to, and even more so if it would present a vulnerability for them that would allow an external attacker to then infiltrate their systems and cause additional damage at the facility itself. So I think one of the key important things when you're designing, when you're delivering and developing IoT systems is to take those concerns very seriously, very early on in the development of the actual architecture. To understand what you should be then exposing your customers to, hopefully as little as possible, and what information you should pass out of the customer premises and what you should keep and retain within the customer premises as such.
We've certainly seen many industrial systems being compromised. I think the level of attacks compared to traditional ICT environment is still very low, but the impact can be deemed to be much greater in certain cases. We are working with the main IoT manufacturers to help drive standards, because that's one of the ways in which we can implement security. But also we're working with the security agencies to make sure that products are patched regularly. And one of the biggest challenges that we have is actually network identification in the factory. So what assets do you have in a building? It's one thing to be able to secure assets, but the first thing you have to do is you actually have to identify the assets that you want to secure.
I think one of the changes that we now see happening in this IoT world is that from the start it was all about how do we gather as much data as possible. And what I think right now the general awareness is sinking in, that with that not only comes a lot of cost, but also a lot of obligation and responsibility. Gartner Research has estimated that about 2 to 4% of data is actually utilized around the world, whereas the rest is just sitting around, yet still carries that obligation. So the mind shift that needs to happen is that instead of just collecting any and all data as much as possible, it is to actually think beforehand, what data do I need to create a certain service, a certain value proposition, and only collect that data. For us that's a big mind shift as well, and I think that will help this debate moving forward.